At what point does the brand step in and go, right, we're opening a lawsuit against you because of you've said that this brand fits this car and we're pricing it differently? Like, at what point does that happen? We don't.
At first glance, the situation does not make sense at all. A content creator like Mat Armstrong has spent years rebuilding some of the most expensive and complicated cars in the world. He has worked on Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and even rare hypercars that most people will never see in real life. These projects are not simple. They require a lot of time, effort, skill, and most importantly, money. In many cases, he spends hundreds of thousands of pounds just on parts, making sure everything is original and correct. At the same time, his videos generate millions of views, bringing huge attention to these brands. People from all over the world watch his content, learn about these cars, and become more interested in them. You would expect that these companies would at least notice his work, maybe send a message, or even say thank you. But surprisingly, nothing like that ever happened. No support, no recognition, not even a simple acknowledgement. Then suddenly, something unexpected happened. One day, a package arrived at his workshop. It was not from Lamborghini or Ferrari, the brand he had been working on for years. Instead, it came from Koenigsegg, a company whose cars he had never owned, never rebuilt, and never even touched. This is what made the situation so unusual. Why would a brand that has no direct connection with him reach out, while the ones he helped promote stayed silent? This question alone created curiosity, and it is the reason why this story became so interesting. It felt like something bigger was happening behind the scenes, something that people were only just starting to notice. When the package from Koenigsegg arrived, it was not just about what was inside, but what it represented. Inside the box were branded clothes like hoodies and t-shirts, along with a handwritten note. On the surface, this may not seem like a big deal. Many companies send merchandise to influencers and creators all the time. But Koenigsegg is not like most companies. They are known for being extremely selective and private. They do not run big marketing campaigns. And they do not usually send free items to content creators. In fact, they produce only a small number of cars each year, sometimes as few as 20 to 30. This makes everything they do feel more personal and intentional. That is why this package stood out. It was not random. It was clearly sent with purpose. The handwritten note made it even more interesting. Instead of promoting a product or asking for a collaboration, the note simply suggested that Matt should watch certain videos. This detail changed everything. It showed that someone at Koenigsegg had already been watching his content and understood what he does. This was not a marketing team blindly reaching out. This was a deliberate decision made by people who actually cared about his work. In a world where most communication is automated and impersonal, this kind of gesture felt different. It showed attention, respect, and curiosity. That is why the internet reacted so strongly. It was not about free merchandise. It was about recognition, and recognition from a brand like Koenigsegg carries a lot of meaning. Teal fully understand why this moment became so important. It is necessary to look at what was happening in the automotive world at the same time. The Bugatti situation had already created tension and discussion among car enthusiasts and creators. Bugatti has always been a brand that values exclusivity. They carefully control who can buy their cars, who can service them, and how they are presented to the public. While this approach helps maintain their luxury image, it can also create frustration. There have been cases where Bugatti limited access to parts or restricted certain buyers, which made people question how open the brand really is. For independent creators like Mat Armstrong, this kind of environment can feel difficult. They are passionate about cars and want to explore them, understand them, and share that knowledge with others. But when brands create barriers, it sends a message that not everyone is welcome. This is why the silence from other manufacturers became more noticeable. Matt had already invested time and money into rebuilding rare cars, showing their engineering in detail, and helping millions of people appreciate them. Yet, he received no support. When Koenigsegg stepped in during this moment, it felt like a direct contrast. It highlighted the difference between brands that protect their image by staying distant and those that are willing to engage. This timing is what made the gesture so powerful. It was not just about sending a package. It was about sending a message at the right moment, when people were already questioning how these companies treat creators. Koenigsegg is not a typical car company, and that is an important part of this story. Founded by Christian von Koenigsegg, the company has always focused on innovation and engineering rather than tradition. Unlike older brands that rely heavily on their history, Koenigsegg built its reputation by creating new ideas and pushing limits. They are known for developing unique technologies and sharing them openly. Christian himself often explains how their systems work, showing a level of transparency that is rare in the automotive industry. This mindset makes a big difference. Instead of hiding their engineering behind mystery, they celebrate it. This is where the connection with Mat Armstrong becomes clear. His content is not just about driving cars or showing luxury. He takes them apart, studies them, and explains how they work. His audience enjoys learning about the technical side of vehicles, not just their appearance. This aligns perfectly with Koenigsegg's approach. They are not interested in superficial promotion. They want people to understand what makes their cars special. By reaching out to Mat, they were connecting with someone who shares their values. It was a smart decision, but also a natural one. It shows that they are paying attention to how people interact with their brand and choosing to engage in a meaningful way. This is what separates them from many traditional manufacturers. After the package arrived, people immediately started thinking about what could happen next. This is where the story becomes even more exciting. The first step has already happened, which is making contact. Koenigsegg has shown that they are aware of Mat and interested in his work. The next logical step could be a visit to their factory. This would be a huge opportunity, as their production process is very unique and rarely shown in detail. A video like that would attract a lot of attention and give viewers a closer look at how these incredible cars are made. Another possibility is a driving experience. Mat has driven many fast cars, but experiencing a Koenigsegg will be something completely different. These cars are known for their extreme performance and advanced engineering, and seeing his reaction would make for very engaging content. The most exciting idea, however, is the possibility of a rebuild project. While it may sound unlikely, it is not impossible. If Koenigsegg decided to support such a project, it would be something the automotive world has never seen before. It would break the idea that only official dealers can handle these cars and open new possibilities for independent creators. Even if this does not happen, the fact that people are discussing it shows how impactful that simple package was. It created curiosity, excitement, and hope for something new. When we look at this story from a wider perspective, it is clear that it represents a larger change in the automotive industry. In the past, car companies controlled how their vehicles were presented to the public. They relied on advertisements, magazines, and official events. But now, things have changed. Platforms like YouTube have given creators a powerful voice. People trust them because they show real experiences, not just polished marketing. This shift means that brands need to adapt. They can no longer rely only on traditional methods. They need to connect with audiences in more genuine ways. Koenigsegg seems to understand this. By reaching out to a creator like Mat Armstrong, they are building a relationship instead of running a campaign. It is a simple approach, but very effective. At the same time, it sends a message to other companies. Ignoring creators may no longer be the best strategy. The audience is watching, and they notice which brands engage and which do not. This is why this moment feels important. It is not just about one package or one creator. It is about a shift in how brands and creators interact. It shows that recognition and respect can go a long way, even if the gesture itself is small. In the end, this story leaves us with an interesting question. Was Koenigsegg's move a genuine act of respect, or was it a smart business decision? The truth is, it can be both. A company can recognize talent and also benefit from it at the same time. What matters is how it feels to the audience. In this case, it felt real. It felt different from typical marketing. That is why people reacted so strongly. It showed that even in a highly competitive and controlled industry, there's still room for authentic connections. For Mat Armstrong, this moment represents recognition after years of hard work. For the audience, it represents hope that the industry is changing in a positive way. And for other brands, it serves as a reminder that sometimes the simplest actions can have the biggest impact. Whether this leads to a collaboration or not, the story has already made its mark. It has started a conversation that will likely continue for a long time. And as that conversation grows, one thing becomes clear. The relationship between creators and brands is evolving, and those who understand this change will be the ones who succeed in the future. Point one of the most important parts of this entire story is timing, and it is something many people often overlook. If the same package from Koenigsegg had arrived 6 months earlier, it might not have created the same reaction. It would still be interesting, but it would not carry the same emotional weight or meaning. The reason it became so impactful is because of when it happened. The automotive world was already discussing the Bugatti situation, questioning how major brands treat independent creators, and noticing a pattern of silence from companies that benefit from online exposure but do not engage with it. At that exact moment, Koenigsegg made a move that was completely different. This is what made it feel like more than just a coincidence. It felt intentional, even if it was not planned that way publicly. Timing can turn a small action into a powerful message, and that is exactly what happened here. The package acted almost like a response to the wider conversation. Even though it did not directly mention any of it, people connected the dots themselves. They saw one brand staying distant, while another quietly reached out, and the contrast became impossible to ignore. This shows how important awareness is in today's world. Companies are no longer operating in isolation. Every action they take is seen in the context of everything else happening around them. Koenigsegg may have simply wanted to acknowledge a creator they respect, but because of the timing, it became something much bigger. It became a symbol of how differently brands can behave, and how those differences can shape public perception in a very short time. Another key factor that made the story grow so quickly is the reaction of the audience. In today's digital world, viewers are not just passive watchers. They actively discuss, analyze, and share their opinions on everything they see. When people noticed that Koenigsegg had sent a package to Mat Armstrong, the conversation spread rapidly across social media platforms, forums, and comment sections. Some people saw it as a genuine sign of respect, a brand recognizing someone who truly understands cars and shares that knowledge with the world. Others viewed it from a more strategic angle, seeing it as a clever marketing move designed to connect with a large and engaged audience. Both perspectives are valid, and that is what makes the situation so interesting. The discussion itself became part of the story. Every comment, every post, and every debate added more attention and visibility. This is something traditional marketing often struggles to achieve. When people feel like they are a part of conversation, they become more invested. They care more about the outcome and pay closer attention to what happens next. In this case, the audience was not just reacting to a package. They were reacting to what it represented. It gave them a reason to think about how brands interact with creators and what kind of behavior they want to support. This level of engagement is extremely valuable, and it shows how powerful community perception can be. A simple action can turn into a major topic of discussion if it connects with people in the right way. This situation also highlights a larger shift in how creators and brands interact with each other. In the past, companies controlled almost every aspect of their public image. They decided what information to share, how to present their products, and who could talk about them. Creators had very limited influence, and most people relied on official sources for information. However, the rise of platforms like YouTube has completely changed this dynamic. Creators now have direct access to large audiences, and their opinions carry significant weight. They can show real experiences, including both the positives and the challenges of working with certain products. This has created a more balanced environment where brands are no longer the only voice in the conversation. For companies, this shift can be both an opportunity and a challenge. Those who embrace it can build strong relationships with creators and reach audiences in a more authentic way. Those who ignore it risk becoming less relevant, especially among younger viewers who value transparency and honesty. Koenigsegg's approach suggests that they understand this change. Instead of trying to control the narrative, they are choosing to be part of it. By connecting with someone like Mat Armstrong, they are allowing their brand to be explored and explained in a natural way. This creates trust, which is far more valuable than traditional advertising. It also shows confidence. A company that is willing to let its products be examined closely is a company that believes in what it has created. One of the most surprising aspects of this story is how simple the initial action was. There was no large marketing campaign, no expensive advertisement, and no official announcement. It was just a package with a few items and a handwritten note. Yet, this small gesture created a level of attention that many large campaigns fail to achieve. This highlights an important lesson about communication and connection. Sometimes, simplicity is more effective than complexity. When something feels genuine and personal, it stands out in a world full of polished and highly produced content. People are used to seeing advertisements that are carefully designed to influence them, and as a result, they often become skeptical. But when an action feels natural and unforced, it creates a different kind of response. It feels real. This is why the Koenigsegg package had such a strong impact. It did not try to impress people with scale or expense. Instead, it focused on meaning. It showed that someone took the time to recognize a creator and reach out in a thoughtful way. This is something that cannot easily be replicated by a large team or a big budget. It requires understanding, attention, and intention. For other brands, this serves as a valuable example. It shows that they do not always need to spend more to achieve better results. Sometimes, they just need to think differently and focus on building real connections. Looking ahead, this moment could have a lasting impact on the future of automotive content. If more brands start to follow a similar approach, we may see a new type of collaboration between manufacturers and creators. Instead of keeping everything behind closed doors, companies might become more open to sharing their processes, technologies, and challenges. This would benefit both sides. Creators would gain access to unique experiences and information, allowing them to produce more engaging content. Brands would gain exposure to audiences that are genuinely interested in what they do. Most importantly, viewers would benefit from a deeper understanding of the cars they admire. They would be able to see how these machines are built, how they work, and what makes them special. This kind of transparency can increase appreciation and trust. It can also inspire a new generation of enthusiasts and engineers who are interested in learning more about the technical side of the industry. However, this shift will not happen overnight. It requires a change in mindset, especially for brands that have traditionally been very protective of their image. They need to recognize that openness does not weaken their position. In many cases, it can make them stronger. Koenigsegg's action suggests that they are already moving in this direction, and if their approach proves successful, others may follow. It is also important to remember the human side of this story. Behind all the discussions about brands, strategies, and industry changes, there's a person who has spent years building something from the ground up. Mat Armstrong did not start with massive support or access to rare cars. He built his channel through hard work, learning, and persistence. Rebuilding damaged cars is not easy. It involves solving complex problems, dealing with unexpected challenges, and staying committed even when things go wrong. Over time, he developed skills and knowledge that allowed him to take on more ambitious projects. His audience grew because people could see the effort and honesty in his work. This is what makes the recognition from Koenigsegg meaningful. It is not just about receiving a package. It is about being seen and appreciated by a company that values the same things. For many creators, this kind of moment is a reminder that their work matters, even if it takes time for others to notice. It shows that consistency and dedication can lead to opportunities in unexpected ways. This is a message that goes beyond the automotive world. It applies to anyone who is working towards a goal and wondering if their efforts are being recognized. As the story continues to develop, one thing remains clear. This is only the beginning. The package from Koenigsegg has already created a strong impression, but what happens next will determine its long-term significance. Will there be a factory visit, a collaboration, or something even more ambitious? Or will this remain a one-time gesture that sparked a larger conversation? At this point, no one knows for sure. What we do know is that the situation has already changed how people think about the relationship between creators and brands. It has shown that even in an industry known for exclusivity and control, there is room for openness and connection. It has also demonstrated the power of small actions when they are done with intention and understanding. Whether this leads to something bigger or not, the impact has already been felt. It has started a discussion that will likely influence how both creators and companies approach each other in the future. And perhaps that is the most important outcome of all. Sometimes, a single moment can shift perspectives and open new possibilities. In this case, it all started with a simple package and a note that invited someone to watch a few videos. From that small beginning, a much larger story has emerged, one that continues to grow with every new reaction, discussion, and idea. As the discussion continues, it becomes more important to look deeper into what might be happening behind the scenes. While the gesture from Koenigsegg feels simple and genuine, it would be naive to assume there is no strategy involved at all. Every successful company, especially one operating at such a high level, thinks carefully about how it presents itself to the world. The difference here is not the absence of strategy, but the way it is executed. Instead of loud campaigns and obvious promotions, Koenigsegg appears to prefer quiet, targeted actions. This approach can be even more powerful because it feels natural rather than forced. When people discover something on their own, it creates a stronger impression than when something is directly advertised to them. In this case, the package was not announced through official channels. It became known because of the creator receiving it. This allowed the story to grow organically, driven by curiosity and discussion rather than promotion. It is a subtle but effective method. By choosing someone like Mat Armstrong, who already has a strong and loyal audience, Koenigsegg ensured that their message would reach the right people without needing to push it aggressively. This kind of strategy requires confidence. It means trusting that the quality of the interaction will speak for itself. It also shows an understanding of how modern audiences think. People are more likely to engage with something that feels discovered rather than delivered. In this sense, the move was both genuine and intelligent, blending respect with awareness in a way that few companies manage to achieve. In today's digital environment, authenticity has become one of the most valuable qualities a creator or a brand can have. Audiences are constantly exposed to content, and over time, they have learned to recognize what feels real and what feels staged. This is why creators like Mat Armstrong have gained so much popularity. His videos are not perfect or overly polished. They show real challenges, real mistakes, and real solutions. This honesty builds trust, and that trust creates a strong connection with viewers. When a brand chooses to engage with a creator like this, it is also choosing to be part of that authenticity. This can be a risk because it means giving up some control over how the brand is presented. However, it can also be a huge advantage. Authentic content often reaches people in a way that traditional advertising cannot. It feels more personal, more relatable, and more believable. Koenigsegg's decision to connect with Mat suggests that they understand this balance. They are not trying to control the narrative. Instead, they are allowing it to develop naturally through someone who already has the audience's trust. This approach can create a deeper and more lasting impact. It also reflects a broader trend in digital media, where authenticity is becoming more important than perfection. People are no longer looking for flawless presentations. They are looking for real experiences, and brands that can align themselves with that expectation are more likely to succeed. When comparing Koenigsegg's actions to those of more traditional brands, the difference in thinking becomes very clear. Many established companies still operate with a mindset that prioritizes control and exclusivity above all else. They carefully manage their image, limit access, and maintain a sense of distance from the public. This approach has worked for a long time, especially in the luxury market, where rarity and mystery can increase value. However, the world is changing. Information is more accessible, and people want to understand the products they admire. They want to see how things work, not just what they look like. This is where newer thinking comes in. Instead of hiding behind exclusivity, some companies are choosing to embrace openness and education. They are showing their processes, explaining their technologies, and engaging directly with their audience. Koenigsegg fits into this category. Their willingness to share knowledge and interact with creators reflects a more modern approach. It does not mean they are giving up their exclusivity. Their cars are still rare and highly desirable, but they are adding another layer to their identity, one that values connection as much as prestige. This balance is difficult to achieve, but when done correctly, it can set a brand apart in a meaningful way. It shows that they are not just focused on selling products, but also on building relationships and sharing their passion. Actions like this rarely stay isolated.